Welcome to my new podcast for 2026. Why are you here? I don't know. I can't answer that question. The question I can answer is why I'm here. I'm a 46-year-old, unhealthy, unfit, fat male whose health suffers, mental and physical, through the weight that I carry. And I've decided that going forward, I'm going to be open and honest about the journey that I'm undertaking, the difficulties that I'm facing, the failures that I will inevitably encounter, and how hard it is to actually change, but to show that it is possible to change if you want to. I want to. I've spent the last 30, 40 years being the chubby kid, because nobody calls kids fat, really, and then the fat adult, because people are less forgiving when you're an adult if you're overweight. It's all your fault. Nobody else to blame. So I've decided that I'm going to document my journey better than I have before. I'm hopefully going to use it as a tool to motivate and drive myself. And if other people can get something out of that journey, if other people can get some sort of motivation or just a little bit of insight and compassion for those of us that struggle with our weight, then I'll have exceeded my own expectations. You can tell that I'm fairly new at this and I'm not very good at it. I will stumble over words. I will I will Hopefully it won't ruin any enjoyment or anything you get from this. But it is what it is. I'd rather be honest and open and share my journey raw as it can be, as unfiltered as it can be. And you can see that actually, even when I succeed in getting to the place I want to be, and then when I remain there or improve on that even further, that there is imperfection along that way. So much of what we see on social media and in podcasts is people presenting the best of themselves. And while I'm not here to present the worst of myself, I'm not going to sugarcoat how difficult a journey this is going to be and how imperfect I am going to be on it. I will make mistakes. I will stumble. I will fall. I will have to get back up. I'll have to dust myself off and continue, because that's what life is. We all have to do it. I'm not special in that way. But I think it's important that you see that, and that people see that, and that anybody who gets anything from this can see that they will have their own struggles along the way, but you can overcome. So this is a very quick intro podcast, I guess. If it is a podcast, it's a video cast as well. But so many podcasts these days seem to be both video and audio. Hopefully the sight of this rotund ginger face doesn't put you off watching the video too much. But if it does, you can get this at your favorite podcast places, whichever ones those are. I'm not sure of all of them. I know that I use Spotify, for example, but there's Apple and others, Amazon, probably, whatever else. I'm not entirely sure. Watch buzzes in the middle of this, so I'm making sure that I'm not disturbing anybody else while I'm doing this. So what's my 2026 going to be like? Well, hopefully it's going to be a transformative year, mostly physically, because I think that will drive improvement in all other areas of my life, but also mentally. When you're overweight, you stop enjoying life as much. It's just a fact. You become embarrassed about how you look. Many of you, I am sure, if you're listening to this and you have struggled with your weight, many of you are embarrassed to go to the gym. I am, but I've made the joke before that, making fun of a fat person at the gym is kind of like making fun of a cancer patient having chemo. They're both doing it for their health. They're both doing it to try and improve the quality of their life, to try and continue their life. Obesity is one of the biggest killers in the country. And it has a huge impact on every aspect of your life. So, if like me, you're a little embarrassed about how you look and you feel like you never look decent in any type of clothing, even nice clothes, you put yourself in a suit. There's something, for example, if you're a guy, you put yourself in a suit and you feel you never look like what James Bond looks like on the screen, or somebody else, because you've got that belly hanging out, or you've got those moobs hanging out, whatever it is, and you feel self-conscious, you never feel your full confident self. So, obesity has a huge impact on every aspect, including your happiness. And, the jolly fat guy is pretty much a myth. I think in most cases, it's a facade that you put on when you're overweight to try and make up for the fact that you feel so shit about yourself, that your energy levels are generally so low that sometimes all you think about is what you're going to eat next, because you're craving food, because you're so low. Your emotional support comes through eating. So therefore you eat. There's the old fat bastard sketch in Austin Powers. I eat because I'm unhappy, and I'm unhappy because I eat. But it's true. It's a joke in the film, but there's a huge element of truth to that. It's self-destructive, like any addiction. And people will argue, scientists will argue, everyone argues about everything these days. But for me, overeating is an addiction. It's something I'm addicted to. It's a mental craving that I have to soothe myself and then beat myself up because I've overeaten, and whatever little progress I've made, I've just ruined by overeating. So I overeat again, because what's the point? It is a vicious cycle, and it has a huge impact on my life. And no doubt, if you're fat and listening to this, and fat's not a bad word, don't let anybody tell you that fat's a bad word, but if you're fat and listening to this, I am sure you have been through that cycle. I'm sure you're going through that cycle. My intention is to break that cycle, and my intention is for you, the audience, to see me break that cycle across the various social media channels where I'll be sharing my journey. This is the thing. I've planned this out. I've got a nice little, not script, but guide rails for me here, and I find that I'm not sticking to them particularly well. Because there's so much in my head about why and what, and already I'm racing ahead to things that I will maybe talk about in future, and think, what, don't say it now because you'll spoil it, and hence the first podcast, the Ramblecast, if you want to call it that. But yeah, so about me, I'm diabetic. I'm type 2 diabetes, which is brought on entirely by being a fat shit. I use humor as a defense mechanism, but also I like to laugh. So, I use humor to try and make myself laugh and make others laugh, sometimes through shock value, sometimes through landing a really, really good joke that happens twice a year. I have high blood pressure, which comes with diabetes. I have high cholesterol, which comes with being a fat bastard again. But beyond that, I have immense joint aches, something which I've been to the doctor about multiple times, and probably quite rightly. They say, well, you're fat. What do you expect? Essentially, they say it much, much nicer than that, but that's the message. You're a fat guy. Your body is in a state of constant struggle. It's constantly fighting against itself, inflammation of the joints through diabetes or whatever, all that kind of good stuff. So my joints ache, my knees are terrible. Sometimes I get back pain, sometimes I get calf pain, which is new. Never used to get pain in my calf, but sometimes I get calf pain. I've done my shoulder in a few times. My back hurts at the moment. Upper back hurts at the moment. And they can all be used as excuses for not doing exercise. But if the last year has taught me anything, it's that I feel so much better after exercise than I do before. The pain is less. Whether that's because I've got a bit of adrenaline going, or whether it's just using the joints and the muscles is giving them some sort of stretch and release. I'm not sure entirely the science behind it, but it does make me feel so much better. Hence why I think, or I know, that 2026 is going to be my year. It's going to be the year that's really going to change, because that realization that my life can be so much better. I can get out of bed without cringing in pain. I can walk without cringing in pain. Taking the pain down to discomfort would be a huge benefit. I'd be so much happier, and I would be able to achieve so much more. The energy levels, the whole 9 yards, everything gets better if you're fitter and healthier. Your whole outlook on life, how people treat you. People are nice, but you see a fat person, you think lazy. I do. I can say it. I'm going to say it. I see somebody that's overweight, the first thing I think is lazy, even though I know it's not necessarily true. We're conditioned to think it. So I know that the first thing people think when they see me is lazy. I referee football. I'm pretty sure when I turn up on the pitch, every game, no matter how good I am, no matter how good a game I have, people will be thinking, fat guy refereeing, can't keep up with play, he's going to make mistakes because he's not in the right position and all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't matter how good I do in that game. I am sure there are people that at the end of the game think, fat guys shouldn't be refereeing. Where's our skinny refs? Refereeing is a whole new thing, a whole new conversation to have, because there's such a struggle for referees because of the abuse we get, and that leads into the mental health aspect of it as well. Adding being fat to the torrent of abuse you get as a referee, it really is throwing yourself into a fire. But the reality is, you can't avoid life because you're fat, because it will make it worse. I know it's made it worse. I've become more of an introvert, and a big part of that is because of my unhappiness with my weight and my physical well-being. So, you hide away, which just makes it all so much worse. And as I said, Ramblecast. This one's a Ramblecast. It really is. So over the next year, 2 years, however long I do this, perhaps longer, if I get millions of listeners and make my fortune and never have to work a real job again, we're going to be discussing health, fitness, mental health, enjoying life, the whole shebang. Not just going to the gym and doing some exercise and losing a bit of weight. It's the whole transformation piece. It's how life becomes better, because it all interconnects. It's all an interconnecting ecosystem of issues that you have, and that needs to be resolved. And I want to enjoy life however long I've got left. If I keep going the way I am, I fear that I won't have long left. If I improve, hopefully I will, and even if I don't, hopefully the time that I do have left will be significantly better. Much better quality of life for however long I'm still on this earth. But hopefully it results in me having a longer, more fulfilling life, achieving the goals and objectives that I set when I was young that I've never met. There's a whole probably podcast to do about the mentality of middle age and how you feel it's too late, even though 46, arguably I could have, if I get healthy and look after myself, there's a good chance I've got another 40 years on the planet. But it feels like it's too late sometimes to actually make a change. And what's the point? Because I'm past my peak. Well, actually, if I get fitted, it'll be the first time I'll ever be in my peak. I would suggest that there's going to be a big focus on men's health. Being a middle-aged man, it makes sense to me that I will view things through the prism of my experience. I would like to think that doesn't preclude anybody from enjoying this or getting something from this. It's certainly not going to be one of those everybody else to blame for the ills of men's health, physical, mental, emotional, etc., because I'm a big advocate for personal responsibility. I am fat because I eat, not because of something that people do to me. I may struggle to get help sometimes. I may struggle to access resources to help me. I may feel that the doctors and the health services have let me down. But at the end of the day, I know not to overeat sugar. I'm diabetic. I know not to overeat fat. I've got oh god, whoa, this is terrible. I'm losing my words already. Another big aspect of being overweight is it really does impact your mental capacity, I think. So you start to lose words, especially as you get older, and you're unhealthy. You struggle more. I'm hoping it's that. I'm hoping it's nothing more serious. But yeah, so everything about your diet impacts, and I know all of those impacts. I know that my food intake is killing me. I know that exercise would make me so much better. I know that all this would make my joints feel better. When I reach out for help, it's usually to give me that boost. But again, the need for me to have something perfect before I start it has held me back. And again, that is on me. That's 100% on me. Nobody else is to blame for that. Not society, not the doctors, not my wife, not anybody coming from abroad into the country, not women, not government, nothing. It's 100% on me. It's personal responsibility here, for the place that I'm at and for the way that I am. It's all on me. I'm the only person that can change it. Yeah, there's impacting factors and things through my life which have resulted in me being the way that I am, but I can still change it, and the only person that can change it is me. So it's not going to be one of those men's health things, if you're thinking, let's not mention any names, but if you're thinking the people that go, you can be the alpha male and you can be controlling this and you can be running the world, and I'll just be happy to run my life and feel great about myself and feel good about myself. I don't have to be better than anybody else. I have to be better than the person I am today, and that's the step, that's the process that I'm going to undertake. Hopefully every day I will be better than yesterday. And every day I will do better than yesterday. And every day I will achieve more than yesterday. That's the journey. And that's my journey. That's the journey I'm going to go on, through, as I say, the lens of being a middle-aged man. But so much of what I'm going to talk about and so much of what I'm going to try and address will be applicable to younger males, older males, women, of any age, people who are successful, people who are not successful, people who feel that they're failing, which is a common feeling these days. Everybody feels a struggle at some point. This podcast, this video cast, this transformation that I'm going to push myself through, it really, hopefully it will touch on all these things, and hopefully you'll enjoy it and you'll get something from it. Hopefully it won't always be a ramble, but if it is, it's just a brain dump for me. It probably is good for my health to be out there. I'm expecting that there will be lots of wonderful comments like, you're a fat, lazy piece of shit, go kill yourself, you'll never do it, you're a failure, you're ugly. A lot of those will probably just come from family members. Joking, by the way. So again, sense of humour. You can expect the tone of this to be quite light at times, even in serious subjects. I approach everything with a joke. It's just what I do. My family generally are not bad. I make lots of jokes about my wife, even though she's wonderful. But I do like, stereotype jokes. I think they're fantastic. But I do expect people to tell me that I'm not funny. People have told me that my whole life. I won't stop making really, really bad jokes because of it. I enjoy making jokes. So, that's where we are. This is podcast number 1. This is an introduction to me. Podcast number 2, I need to figure out what I'm going to do on that. I'm going to try and do these weekly, both with a double E and an EA, if that makes sense to you, if you like that kind of joke. But yeah, so, if you think this is something you'd be interested in following, please follow. If you've listened this far and you think, oh, this guy is full of shit and he's going to fail, come back in a few months and see if you're right. If you are sitting there thinking, well, my New Year's resolution is going to be to have the same transformation in 2026. Follow on. The easiest way, or the best way, the way to build resilience when you're trying to change is to build a community, or be part of a community that supports that change as much as possible. As I say, there will be naysayers, there will be trolls, there will be nasty people saying nasty things because they're sat in their underpants eating Wotsits and it's all they've got to do in life. So be part of the community, join in, comment, positive, negative, call me an idiot, call me boring, call me whatever you want. I've been called it all before. I've heard just about every insult under the book. As I say, I'm a referee. You hear some things. But yeah, come along for the journey. Come join me. If your New Year's resolution is to transform alongside me. Reach out, comment on my content, send me messages, whatever you feel you can do. They say that 80% of New Year's resolutions fail within the first few months, and 90 to 95% are done by the end of the year. People have fallen off their wagon. So, if you're making that New Year's resolution, one of those New Year's resolutions, be part of that 5% that at the end of the year, that in December 2026, knows that they have done everything that they can and put all that they could put into it to make their life better, to change themselves physically, to change themselves mentally. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm going to commit to doing. By putting this out there, hopefully people will also help hold me to that commitment, so that when I have those down days, when I have those low days, when I am struggling, when I fall over, I get back up, dust myself off, and there's others there to help. And there's others there to say, we've been through this too. Let's keep going together. And with that, I will sign off. Thank you if you've listened this far. If you've managed to commit through my ramble, I do thank you, and I appreciate your time. And I will try my best to make these more entertaining, more interesting, and more engaging. I will get my environment sorted out so I don't have this horrible backdrop. But, they say perfection is the enemy of good. I wanted everything to be perfect before I started this, and seeing as I cannot get everything perfect, and getting things better is part of this journey, I thought, fuck it, I'll start it anyway. And if it's shit, it's shit. But at least I have tried, which is more than 99.9% of the people do. And it's certainly more than the trolls who will insult me on this journey do. So stick with me. Have a good one, and welcome to 2026.